This is scene 8 from the play Benzo Oz, a comedic drug withdrawal romance. And this scene is called Star Sky Oz. The music from Clannad's Wherever You Go, I Will Find You is heard. The stage is dark, but for a spotlight on me and one bright star shining in a night sky on the screen behind me. When I was a little girl, I fell in love with a star. I was bullied regularly when the tiniest kid in class for 2 long years, so being alone at night was fraught with terror. Would one of the boys who liked to beat me up find me on my way walking home from elocution lessons in the dark? Then one night I looked up and a particular star seemed to be casting its radiance on me. It made me feel safe, as though he, and somehow I knew the star was a he, was watching over me. I looked for that star on many a clear night, found it, and felt reassured and even loved. Then one night I looked up into the sky and my star was gone. One more loved one had disappeared, and there had been so many who died when I was very young, always the ones who loved me best. I felt bereft, as though a part of me died that night. Louis told me years later that when he died in his human form, he chose to watch over the world from afar, and as he'd been a great Canadian hero, he was given the gift of embodying a star. He was happy, he said, observing humanity, concerned yet uninvolved after his last experience in the body that ended with his murder, a tragedy he who sought only to receive fairness from his government. Louis remained serenely detached until he saw and fell in love with a brave little girl and the woman she would become. It was magical enough, he said, to know, recognize, and love him back immediately, even in his star form. But he could not remain distant or detached any longer. He told me he recognized my energy signature of not one, but 2 of his great loves in that tiny abused child, still indomitable, having learned to fight back, until 2 large male bullies of high school age came after the little 7-year-old and defeated her. That night, as she picked herself up, little Linda looked up, saw the star, and knew he watched over her and was comforted. Now, this, of course, is scientifically impossible. The stars we see are thousands of years old. But the story is true in the mythological sense, as another little girl once said about the theories of psychoanalyst C.G. Jung, that they were true here in the heart, but not here in our heads. But then love is as extraordinary as any myth. To science, we're closer to madness when we fall in love than to anything rational or sane. How is a little girl in love with a star any stranger than many of our tales of love, human, animal, or divine? Somehow our souls touch, and we briefly experience oneness. Louis came to me, though it took him many decades, as first he had to die in his star form to be reborn. I knew none of this, of course, until I got off the last of 5 prescriptions that were killing me, not helping me, expecting to become fully and completely sane, and instead completely lost my marbles, or so it seemed. Shamanic journeys are like that. The mind breaks open to let spirit in. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in, sang great Canadian bard Leonard Cohen. I wondered as I began hearing voices and seeing visions, am I a mystic or a madwoman, psychic or psychotic? The voices made many predictions, and ever practical, though medically mad, I told the voices they had to prove themselves. One day on a holiday, I lost my purse and heard, "Your purse is safe, hiding in plain sight. It will be found by the god of Seaview Resort." Now, that's what I called the man who was the human equivalent of a genius loci, the protective spirit of a place, who had made solid old cabins being destroyed by an owner who preferred plastic to wood into cathedrals of light, while keeping the beautiful old bones, enhancing the authentic spirit. Oddly, I believed the prediction utterly. Now, I knew I brought the purse back to the holiday site, then went for a walk around it. Strangely, for June, no one was staying there but me, so it was unlikely to have been stolen. I decided to trust the prediction and remain calm, which drove my boyfriend crazy. Now, he panicked, imagining immediately a burglar breaking into my apartment and stealing all my things. I looked at him and realized, though he claimed to believe in magic and spirit, he had absolutely none himself. We fought. The voice spoke again, saying my boyfriend could find my purse if only he would trust himself. He didn't even try. 3 people looked for my missing bag, 1 woman and 2 men, each of whom knew every inch of the place intimately. They each made the rounds of the small holiday resort searching for the lost purse. To me, that sounded a little like the myth of Angus, the story of the Irish love god who dreamt one night of his one true love. His father, mother, and a family friend all searched for the woman of his dreams in vain. I knew the myth as I'd once dreamt of Angus myself, or rather the women of his family who asked me to marry him and join the family firm. My purse was still hiding the night before we were to leave. My boyfriend's fear infected me like a virus until I too could visualize someone letting themselves into my home with my keys, rifling through my things, then blowing my bank account and maxing the credit cards. I endured a sleepless night. Yet with the dawn returned complete confidence, knowing in my soul I was right. Yet there was still no sign of the purse. We drove away, my boyfriend sneering. Later that day, cool as a cucumber, I made an excuse to return. The owner I dubbed the god of the place came triumphantly towards me, bearing my lost purse. He'd found it in a sailing shed where a disabled sailboat lay, a place no one visits. He had a sudden urge to chop wood in June and entered the shed. And there sat the purse, visible from my cabin, hiding in plain sight, just as the prediction foretold, complete in every detail. Now, my boyfriend was gobsmacked. He became an instant believer, apologizing vehemently. The apology came too late. Though I'd been vindicated, I just felt sadness. We'd been together for 13 years, yet our time together was clearly over. He had no faith in himself and less in me. There was no place for him on this journey. The answer to the question, however, psychic or psychotic, was clear. I was now psychic, strangely, shamanically traveling the realms, and could have no companion who would not travel there with me, especially one who held me back, binding me with his fear. I ended things with him shortly thereafter. Little did I know, another prediction was about to come true, the one that told me the love of my lives was near. 3 months after I ended my relationship with my long-term boyfriend, Louis came to me on the night of a supermoon. The music from Clanad's Wherever You Go, I Will Find You is heard again, followed by the words, if it takes 1,000 years. It took Louis 130 years to find and come to me. The number 13 is sacred to the goddess Aphrodite, and for me it symbolizes both endings and beginnings. Ending one relationship, soon it would be time for me to dance with my life's long love once more. A photo comes up on the screen of The Dark Man by Mexican surrealist Remedios Varo as I dance with an invisible lover.